Welcome to the WAN show, guys. You know, it's funny because I actually received a complaint from one of our sponsors earlier this week. Well, it's not so much that I received a complaint as they received a complaint. It was a major sponsor of ours. So one of our long-term relationships that we've had for a long time. That's how long-term relationships work. They last a long time. I mean, unless it's, there's no good place this can go. So it's a long-term sponsor, and what happened was they actually received a complaint about the obscene content of a Friday stream that was sponsored by said sponsor. So I freaked out. I'm like, oh man, I'm not always the most politically correct guy in the world. I think we can all agree on this. Slenderman definitely knows that I'm not always the most appropriate boss, when it comes to touching and words that I say. But I was like, okay, well, it must have been something particularly horrible if someone's complaining about it.
That sounded really bad.
What?
Sometimes I'm not an appropriate boss when it comes to touching and words that I say.
Well, like, poopsicle.
Okay.
That's what I meant. So, basically, I'm freaking out. I'm running around trying to download the archive. Twitch isn't working. I can barely load a page on the site, and I just want to watch the archive, and I go, oh, no, hold on, YouTube. So I go on the YouTube one, I'm like, oh, this doesn't look that bad, and then I go, after party. Maybe something happened on the after party. And so I'm like trying to get on Twitch again. I'm like, I can't see the show. I don't want to admit to guilt before I figure out if I did something wrong. So at the end of it all, get this. I'm like still running around. I get this email. Thank goodness for the Pebble, because I knew about the email immediately. And it's like, oh, upon getting further clarification, it was actually one of the participants in the chat of your show that said something obscene. And I was just kind of sitting there going, I was like, really? Really? The obscene content of my show is someone in Twitch chat?
I don't think the public internet has a proper ESRB rating.
I really don't think it does.
Come on, guys.
So that was where my upset ended. That was where my stress ended. Hashtag make bombs. Thank you for whoever's in the Twitch chat doing that. Speaking of Twitch chat being inappropriate. So I was just, they were like, oh, well, do you think you could get moderators? I'm like, yeah, we're on it. Okay, we got this. We got this under control. We are going to add so many moderators that you're not going to be able, we're going to moderate while we moderate in our sleep.
What would happen if we made can moderators time out other moderators?
I don't think so.
Okay, so I was going to say, if we made every single person a moderator.
Yeah, that creates more problems than it solves.
I know.
So we've got a great show for you today, guys. We've got a number of topics. Number one is the Titan Z, or Titan Z if you prefer, from NVIDIA has allegedly been postponed. And by allegedly, I mean it was supposed to launch 3 days ago, and it's not here.
So, yeah.
The word on the street is actually, well, you'll have to wait for the word on the street. Why don't you just watch the show for a change? You know how many people tune in for the intro and then leave? I've been watching the Twitch numbers.
Really?
They're just like, what do Linus and Luke think? No, I'm totally messing with you.
I'm pretty sure it goes up.
Nobody does that.
You're pretty sure it goes up for a while.
People watch the show to stare at your hunky good looks, not because they want to watch the intro and then leave.
That's cute.
Also, Google is rumored to be launching the Android Silver program, and we've got a few details of what that would be, but it sounds like some kind of a mishmash of the Nexus program and Google Play Edition phones and the love child that exists from that sort of pairing. And actually, people were freaking out initially when rumors started to swirl about Nexus phones going away, but in my mind, this could be a very good thing. More on that later.
We have China building an esports stadium.
I love saying more on that later. Because it's like, it implies that whatever we say about it will be stupid. More on that later! Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, man. And Nissan is developing a paint that will resist both water and oil. More on that later.
That's a smart idea.
But I'm just...
That's not stupid. You're not even doing it right.
I'm going to play the intro. So...
got a couple of sponsors here for you guys. Hotspot Shield is the fast, easy, inexpensive way to set yourself up with a VPN. You can save 20% off an Elite membership by using offer code Linus. And ASUS Republic of Gamers gaming notebooks. We've actually recently done a fair bit of talking about the G750 on the show, and we're going to keep doing that today because we are both powered by the ASUS G750JZ.
I still need nutrition to some point, and he's talking about a wrapper. So
Nutrition?
yeah, you said we're both powered by it, but we're not. We're more powered by like stuff that we eat and drink, not necessarily the laptop.
Oh, okay. Were you thinking of that all week?
No, actually. But I was thinking about Jay-Z the whole week.
Okay, well then put more effort into it. Next time, if you're gonna say something stupid when I talk about the G750JZ, I want some premeditation.
So I will do this. I will plan out some sort of thing focused around Jay-Z for next week.
You're awful. All right, so let's move on to our first topic of the day. Nissan develops water repellent technology for their cars. Now, that's a bit of an oversimplification. It's not actually Nissan that developed this hydrophobic and oleophobic coating.
For clarification, hydrophobic is water repellent, and oleophobic is oil repellent.
Yes. So, but they have developed the idea of putting such a coating on a car, which to me
in
really
like paint form
isn't that big of a deal, but you know. Either way, this video is freaking cool. So we're gonna go ahead and watch it together. And there's no sound, so I will be the narrator. Nissan, is this the world's first self-cleaning car? Driven by Batman. Look at us painting it. This is how paint works. Sometimes the paint has a hose that contains paint.
Apparently we decided to turn the light off.
Sometimes cars go on the road. This is a windshield. This is rain on the ground. It's like backwards rain. It starts on the ground, it goes up your car, and it contains sometimes mud.
Is backwards rain evaporation?
Repels water and spraying. Spray. I was thinking of my shoulder, because it hurts. Everyday dirt, not just some days dirt. This is really impressive, though. Okay, so check this out. This final shot, if the video is to be believed, has not been doctored. So you can actually find, like, a couple little things on it. Like, there's a little thing here. Mm-hmm. See that? And then down here, this piece of plastic has actually clearly gone through the same treatment as the other piece of plastic. One thing to note is that this is a left side vehicle, so it means whenever they are like driving off the side of the road a little bit, it'll be on this side. So they did abuse the more...
And you can kind of tell in the plastic on the
Yeah, so you can tell in the plastic that they abused this side more to make their point, I think. But that doesn't change the fact that the hydrophobic, oleophobic coating, everywhere where it isn't applied, or everywhere where it's been applied, like on the paint here, on the windshield, is really, really impressive. I mean, look at that. We're just gonna, let's freeze frame on that for a second so you can see the way that the dirt and water just come right off of it. Now, it's not the first time we've seen this. When I saw Nissan's video, I went looking around for other ones, and I saw some really cool demos, like taking a concrete cinder block and coating one side of it and just like trying to make it wet. Taking a glove.
Yeah.
And just like taking the two gloves and then putting them down on like paper towel. And there's like one drop.
There's really cool stuff where if you get a really nice camera and you like coat someone's finger in it and then put it in the water, you can see like the layer around your finger where the water's not touching.
Huh.
It's really interesting. I'll try and find a video for you later. But some of my favorite ones is literally when someone just coats a shirt in it, wears the shirt, and then the other dude like sprays mustard or ketchup at him.
Right.
And then instead of going blah, it hits him and then just falls off. It's really it like hurts the brain for the first few seconds.
So this was posted on the forum by Probe NJA. So huge shout out to you for doing that. And I think that's pretty much all there is to say about it. Nissan has said already that they have no plans to offer the paint as standard equipment, but will consider making it an option. You know what to me is kind of funny? What do you mean consider making it an option?
They have to talk like that.
I know.
Because, like, what if something happens? What if some patent comes out and then they're like, oh, there's no way this is going to work? Because they didn't, like you said at the beginning, they didn't invent this. This has existed. That's why there's videos,
Right.
like what we were just talking about, of people doing it. I can't remember the name, but there's a brand that sells it just in spray cans, and you can spray it on pretty much everything. So, yeah, if you want to do this to whatever, you do have to kind of worry, like, you don't want to eat this stuff. I'm not even going to bother read the label, but something that's going to repel liquids should probably not be ingested.
Right. Well, I mean, the whole thing with Scotchgard, like, you know why Scotchgard sucks now, right?
Because they had to nerf it, right?
Yeah, they had to completely change the formula. The original Scotchgard, like, my mom was under the impression that Scotchgard was amazing. So I went and, like, sprayed all of my ski equipment with it. And, like, the first day, I was like, yeah, I'm soaked. This stuff is crap, Mom. What on earth are you talking about? And she's like, no, it's great. It's great. It's great, Linus. You should put it on all your stuff. I'm like, okay. Disconnected.
Not working.
But then I actually looked into it, and the reason they had to change the formula was because in the town where they manufactured it all, the birth defect rate was like...
Right.
Yeah, so it was like a huge problem. So yeah, sure, there could be some kind of environmental concern, some kind of health concern that comes along with this type of a coating, but at the end of the day, if they are figuring out how to apply it to cars... I guess the thing that I hate seeing is artificial segmentation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, on our premium model, we'll offer this option
paint,
to have this oleophobic coating. It's like, you know what? Why don't you just paint the other car with it, please? Just cover any car with it.
Yeah.
Because why not?
If you're buying it en masse, it's probably not going to cost that much in the end.
And you wonder why consumers are sick of your crap when you artificially segment your products that way. So I hope that Nissan, and anyone for that matter, develops this. The amount of water that gets wasted washing cars, the amount of soap and cleaning chemicals that go down storm drains, because not everyone is using environmentally friendly soaps when they clean their cars, at least here in North America, is pretty astounding. I actually noticed the culture seems a little bit, in the places in Europe that I've gone, the culture about car washing seems very different. So, for example, I spent my honeymoon on the Greek islands, and I don't think I saw a single car that had probably been washed in the last 2 months. Like, it just wasn't a thing.
Whereas around here, it's fairly rare to find a dirty car.
Yeah. And that was just, it was just a bit of an enlightening moment for me, and I was just.
But then on the polar opposite of that, in France, every single washroom you go into is going to be super pristine, and here, every single public washroom you go into is
grody.
Absolutely disgusting monstrosity. Another interesting thing is that previous models of iPhones, I'm not sure if the current ones do, but they have oleophobic coating on the screen. The BlackBerry Z10 could have probably used that.
Yeah, that screen was not very good. I remember the problem you had with it. With that said, you do have particularly gross hands.
Yes, that is true. But that phone was particularly bad at dealing with it.
Like I even like fist bumping him. No, sometimes I'm just like, yeah.
It's pretty bad.
All right, I'm not judging though.
I am.
You're gross. You beat me to the punch on that one. So this is right up your alley, this next story here.
Yeah.
The famous, fabled dumping ground for E.T. the video game has been found.
So despite this being reportedly one of the worst games that anyone who's ever played it has ever played, people want to find it so badly because it's been kind of hidden away, and it's really, 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 really hard to get your hands on. So what happened was they dumped it in some landfill in New Mexico and then never looked back and never...
Yeah, like they printed way too many copies of it. Atari did. Way too many copies. It was a total piece of garbage.
Terrible.
So they just dumped it.
Dumped it, forgot about it, it's in a landfill, don't worry about it. Ever since then, the internet has kind of gone insane. It's had its ups and downs with this story, but it's kind of gone insane. The Video Game Nerd, also known as the Cinemassacre Group, has been working on a video on it since I think 2007. There's a documentary going on right now, and the people working on the documentary actually dug up the site and actually have found, I've seen pictures of 2 or 3 of them now. They look pretty smashed, so I don't think any of them are actually going to work, but we'll see, who knows.
The last I heard, none of the ones they had unearthed worked yet.
Yeah, but then that being said, they might be able to remount chips.
Right.
And make it work that way. Like, maybe that cartridge doesn't work, but...
That feels like cheating to me.
It kind of is, but if you do want to get the game back, it might work in some form. If you want an original cartridge, though, I don't think they've unearthed one yet. The movie that Cinemassacre is making with Angry Video Game Nerd is going to be like a science fiction adventure based movie, so it's not really based around that much.
So kind of like
fact.
E.T. Will there be an alien?
I'm sure there's going to be an alien. I've seen parts of it. Shoot me, but it really doesn't look that good. So I don't know. We'll see. Someone will attack me for that. But yeah, that's honestly about it. It's interesting. I'm excited to see what comes with it. I'm excited for the first one to hit eBay.
Right.
That's what I'm excited to figure out what Atari decides to do about this, because they probably still technically own that land.
I don't think they've commented on any of this yet.
They have
not. So Atari is just kind of. But once someone starts making money off of this,
exactly,
I think the story changes a little bit. I mean, if you're Atari, you must be pretty desperate at this point.
Yeah, because like the Angry Video Game Nerd, his is science fiction adventure based thing, so I'm not too worried about that. He's making a story
and
about
that's just based
something.
on the buried games. It's not like he's not planning to sell the cartridges or anything like that.
Exactly.
But I imagine video game collectors would pay.
Oh yeah. And like, especially to get one from the dig.
Yeah, so like I think at the end of the day, they're gonna excavate these, and I suspect there's enough of them that something's got to work, unless they specifically smashed them before they put them down there.
Right.
But I mean, so I think there'll be tiers, right? There'll be the ones that are in basically like pristine condition and work. There'll be the ones that look good but don't work, and there'll be broken ones.
There's that game rating system. Have you heard of it before?
No.
You can ship in your unboxed game. I can't remember the name of it right now, but I'm sure someone in the chat will bring it up. You can ship in your like new inbox game, and they'll rate how good condition it's in. So like any dents on the corners, any rips, anything like that, they'll put it in a shell casing and they'll stamp an official rating on it. So like if you get like a 95 rated NES game, you can sell it for incredible amounts of money, and it costs like $100 just to get the service done. So like if you get a high rating ET that's from the dig, it's gonna be worth tons. And then Atari might be like, we technically own those, so nope, our money. Or they could just say nope, they all go to us. I'm really interested to see what Atari does, or if they just do nothing. I guess we'll have to see.
They might just do nothing.
I wouldn't be super surprised if they did nothing, to be completely honest. Oh well, we'll see, I guess. Android Silver.
Yeah, let's move on to Android Silver. So this
Should
was
we do
posted.
a Twitter Blitz soon?
I'm sorry.
Should we do Twitter Blitz soon?
Sure. About what?
I don't know. We just haven't. I don't think we did a Twitter Blitz for the last 2 weeks.
Okay. Why don't we just do a random one, guys? Hit us at Linus Tech on Twitter. Let us know if you have anything fascinating to ask us or comment on, anything that we've talked about so far. We're going to do a Twitter Blitz in a little bit here. All right, so our next topic is Android Silver. It was posted originally on the Linus Tech Tips forum by Red Round 2, and then the source article was on Android Authority. So this is a report going around right now that the Nexus program, so, you know, the Nexus 5, the Nexus 7, you know, I really did wonder what they were going to do when they ran out of screen sizes to make it bigger. That would also correspond to increasingly big model numbers.
That didn't seem like the greatest plan from the get-go.
It's just discontinuous. Just
This
call
is
them
our
all
plan.
silver.
It's gone. Don't worry about it. We're not using the word one, at least. We came up with something else. Imagine they did that. That would be 3 different Android phones that would be called One.
Silver One.
If they at least had the next iteration be a Silver 2,
Silver 2.
and like from there on, I'd probably be okay with it.
When cell phones go down enough in price, can we have the silver dollar?
I don't think that'll happen.
How about the silver and sterling conflict? You don't follow sports, right?
Not much.
Oh, do you know what's going on right now?
With the coach that just got fired?
No, the Clippers owner.
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah. So that's,
I follow it enough.
Yeah. That's kind of
Not
the thing right
day-to-day,
now.
that's all.
I don't know. I actually had a really interesting conversation with Iago and the NCIX Tech Tips crew when we were having lunch today, and they brought up some interesting points. What he says in the privacy of his own home, no matter how foul and disgusting it is not illegal.
Yeah.
So
And that conversation probably shouldn't have been leaked. My thing is, he's done way worse stuff in the past.
and honestly, like again, because what he's done right now actually isn't illegal, and he's probably on the right side of any law that could possibly exist to protect people who say things to people in public and then just have that turn into like a gigantic spiel. He's probably on the right side of whatever that is. But if you actually look at any of the media articles about this whole controversy right now, people aren't even really going after him about the recording. They're going after him for being an allegedly supremely foul human being.
Yeah.
And a lot of them
Well,
are
as far
just,
as I know, he is. I'm not entirely sure, but
just digging up a ton of the history and kind of going, you know what? This is just the cherry on top that we needed to catalyze what's going on right now. Because you're, like, the recording, like, again,
I don't like the fact that someone published a private recording.
I don't like that.
But then, from what I've read, he does seem like an extremely foul human being.
And
That
I
doesn't
don't
mean it's okay.
I don't like someone saying to someone, I don't want you bringing a person of that ethnic persuasion
No, I don't
into
want that
my
being
building.
said either.
That is horrendous.
Yes.
But
I also don't want
that's
that.
even though it's wrong, it's not illegal. What happened?
Is he?
You're it's not illegal to tell someone in private that, like, if I give you tickets to a play and I'm like, look, I don't want you bringing
Well, say it correctly so this doesn't get taken out of context.
yeah, I don't want you bringing a white person. There, that's probably the safest thing I can say. Don't bring any white people. I'm allowed to say that. It's not illegal.
Because
Okay, as your employer, I probably can't say that. But let's say it wasn't
no,
me.
yeah, you know, I disconnected that. Yeah. I still don't know.
And you could make the argument, based
I've
on
never
how
looked
old
into
he
any.
is and the kind of relationship they probably had, he might have been her employer. So maybe it was wrong. But that's a whole other ball of wax. Anyway, I don't remember where I was going with this. Anyway, that's happening. The whole...
VGA rating, VGAgrader.com.
Oh, okay.
I'm jumping back to this because I don't want to talk about racist old guys anymore. But yeah, see, they put it in this jewel
You
case.
point at your screen,
I
but
know
they can't.
see it, but I'm trying to show you really quickly. They put it in a jewel case and they stamp a rating on it. It costs like $100.
So it's basically
VG.
GIA except for games. VGA rating?
VGG
VGGrating.com?
Raider. VGG Raider.
So VG rating?
Yeah.
Okay.
Raider.
Oh. Bing is so useless. Okay, here. Oh, good. They're screen sharing with me already.
Yeah.
So VGGrating.com brings up G Detox Plus Herbal Capsule. Okay. So
VGG Raider. R-A-D-E-R.
Google. No, I'm going to try searching for that. I'm going to see if Google manages to bring up what I'm actually looking
Yep.
for. It's like, you know what?
Man.
I give Bing a chance. Time and time again. Give Bing a chance.
Did you use Windows Update to download the Bing desktop and Bing toolbar?
No.
That's so frustrating.
No, I didn't.
I'm actually looking for Windows upgrades.
I keep giving Bing a chance. And, like, okay, I don't use Google because I'm married to Google and love Google.
Yeah.
My love for Google, skin deep.
It works.
It's a working
I
relationship.
tried to go to DuckDuckGo, and then I was like, this doesn't really work that way.
Me and Google, we do our best here, and we fight through the problems, okay?
But you stay together.
But we stay together, man.
Yeah.
Bing, because it's the default on Internet Explorer, and I reinstall operating systems so often, I often am lazy about installing my alternate browsers, and I'll use IE, and the default will be Bing for a while. And the only time I actually turn around and, like, get off my lazy butt and install my alternate browsers that all use Google as a default is when Bing just can't find anything.
When it does something like that.
When it does something like this. Look at those Bing results, okay? Office of Quality of Performance, SSA.gov? Some patent for flame laminate polyether urethane? I mean, they're not even close. Genetics, diamondring.com.
And like, what did this...
Does that say fellatio book?
What?
Oh, Teleco book. Sorry.
How did you possibly... I'm not...
They
nope.
have books about that.
No- oh.
Anyway,
They have an idiot's guide?
VGgrader.com. So Google managed to find it, Bing did not, and that is incredibly disappointing. Anyway, why don't we actually get on to our next topic here? So, from Android Authority, the Nexus program retiring next year, Android Silver, allegedly to take its place. So what Android Silver is going to be is a bit of a mishmash of the Nexus program. So Nexus, the idea was they support the phone with software for 2 years, correct?
I don't think there was a cap on it.
I believe there was.
Really?
There was a guarantee. So,
yeah, I think there's a minimum, not a cap.
Let us know in the chat if you guys can remember how long Nexus devices get. So anyway, so a Nexus device has to be this. It has to be at an aggressive price. It has to be from a well-established manufacturer, and it has to be stock vanilla Android. Then, on the other side, we've got Google Play Edition devices. So we saw this with the HTC One, the Galaxy S4, and we've seen it again with the HTC One M8 and the Galaxy S5. But what's interesting to me about Silver is that I really think it takes the best of both worlds. Because right now, you've got those Play Edition devices, which for the HTC One M8, for example, the one that I think people should be buying if they're buying a Play Edition device, the HTC One M8, it's extremely expensive. If Silver could take the concept of Play Edition, that is to say, and what's cool about the Play Edition phones that are coming out now is how they come with basically stock Android, but all of those cool vendor-created customizations that can be added within a special subset of the Play Store. So I love that approach. I think that's great. But if that could meet Nexus halfway and be implemented instead of only on flagship devices that you have to pay full pop out of pocket for, I forget where that sentence started. If that could be, instead of on just flagship devices that you have to pay full pop for, if we could see that on mid-range devices or, and this is the other big bomb, carrier subsidized devices, I think that's an incredibly positive thing because the cold hard truth, and phone enthusiasts, get over yourself. Not everyone buys a phone outright. Some people lock into a contract because, quite frankly, who cares? You're gonna pay your carrier anyway.
Yeah.
It's not like you
and
get a
even
huge
with
discount.
With a lot of carriers, even if you say no to the phone, they make you lock into a contract anyways.
At least here in Canada.
Yeah. I don't know elsewhere, but... Yeah.
So, especially the tier 1 carriers. A lot of the, like, tier 2 carriers, you can just do, like, basically pay as you go.
Yeah.
But you're gonna pay for a phone contract anyway, so who cares? Not everyone upgrades their phone every year. Not everyone roots their device. So for some people, being able to get a high-end device for $199 on contract with a phone plan that they're going to buy anyway is great. So if we can have Android Silver fill that gap by giving us more mid-range devices that deliver a basically stock Google experience, where this is not quite like the Google Play Edition one. So the idea is that a Silver device will come with the customizations off it, but you can remove basically all of them.
Yeah.
As opposed to coming without them, but you can add them.
I'm fully okay with that.
What a fantastic middle ground.
Yeah.
Silver sounds amazing.
And one thing I really like is that, I think you kind of already said this, but the subsidizing. Google's going to subsidize it and help make it cheap because I'm in a weird position right now where...
Well, the rumor is Google may subsidize the phones.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a natural thing. So, rumor.
I think this is all rumor so far.
Right. Okay, yeah. I'm in a weird spot because I'm done my contract, but just sitting... still paying the contract.
Your carrier is a bunch of terrible people as well. I'm not going to name anyone.
Really bad. So I'm looking to switch, but then there's possibly new plans coming out, so I don't want to switch right now. So I can't get a subsidized phone in that way. I don't have a phone right now. I don't want to buy one because if I bought one, then I'm going to probably buy Nexus 5. But then why wouldn't I wait for OnePlus One, which is coming out soon?
Which might be good, but
who knows?
They're an unproven manufacturer at this point.
So I'm in a really weird spot. So I'm happy to see things that might make my life
Speaking of really weird
easier.
spots, you just said you don't have a phone, but I think you do. Show us your phone.
Okay. So I don't even want to show it. So this is Linus's old iPhone 4,
So
which I don't even have working yet.
Luke was like, "Oh, hey, yo, dog, could I borrow the Moto X?" And I was like, I might switch to the Moto X at some point. Plus, it's got a nano SIM, and you have a micro SIM.
That's easy to fix.
But, and you know what, guys? Okay, Twitch chat, back me up on this, because what I've heard is that cutting down from micro to nano, there's actually a lot more room for error than there is cutting down from full-size SIM to micro, for example, because the plastic is so close to the contact. So I didn't recommend that he do that, especially because his terrible carrier charges him $10 for a new SIM.
Yeah.
Whereas mine, I walked into the store, I was like, yo, I got a new phone. They're like, yo, you need a new SIM? Let me set that up for you.
His carrier's the one that I'm trying to move to. I'm just waiting for new plans.
And they didn't even set up your new SIM for you.
No.
You had to, like, call, right? So
yeah, because on the website, when I tried to set it up for myself,
Oh.
it was a locked off portal. It was like, you do not have permission to do this. I was like, why is the button even there if I can't do it?
Whereas my carrier, it's like, here are the two phones. And they take the SIM out for me, put it in the other phone, they make all the calls. Then, like, he hands it back to me. He's like, oh, hold on. What's your number? And he does, like, a test call from his own cell phone to make sure it's working. I'm like, yo, man,
This
you're
is
cool.
awesome. Yeah.
You're cool. As much as I hate giving you all of my money, at least you're trying to make me not feel terrible
If they make
about
the
it.
experience not horrible, I'd be happier paying the same amount that I'm going to pay someone else to them, because I'm paying my carrier, whoever they are,
I hate your carrier.
the same amount that
I
you would
hate
be if you were on
everything
my
about
plan.
your carrier.
My 500 megabyte data every month, ballin'.
Oh, people are asking. I'm on Bell. So Bell Canada, from my experience, has been one of the two lesser of all of the evils. And I used to be on Rogers, and they weren't bad either. So I think that leaves one.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
So people can probably figure it out now.
So, for the first time ever, Luke is going to be using an iPhone
I have no idea what I'm doing.
until he de-cheapifies enough to buy a phone.
Yeah.
And that is going to be an interesting experience. And you know what? It's funny because the timing is going to be really good, because I recently switched back to iOS. I've been using an iPhone 5S for the last,
But you're happy about it.
week and a half?
I don't even,
Something
like I
that,
can't
couple
do
weeks.
anything.
I know,
with
but
this
it's
thing.
a learning experience. Okay, so no,
Yeah.
hold on. This is important for you. I switched back to the iPhone 5S, not because I'm unhappy with the one M8. I've seen a couple people notice that I pulled out a 5S in the middle of my videos. I love the one M8. Fantastic phone. I switched back to the 5S because I think the upcoming iPhone 6 is going to be absolutely groundbreaking.
Why does pressing the little button not turn the screen on? Oh, it did.
It's
What?
glitchy. It's broken.
Oh.
Yeah, you gotta press it pretty hard.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Should have told you that. So I think the upcoming iPhone 6, with its larger screen size, is going to be groundbreaking. Not because a larger screen is innovative, but because Apple's going to have to make some serious changes to iOS in order to make a larger screen size work. Just little things, like, for example, within apps, the standard placement for back is at the very top left corner of the screen, which I think for people who have normal sized hands isn't a problem right now. But when you go and throw that design onto a much larger phone, they're going to start having the same problem people like me with little hands have, where in order to go back within an app, you're going to have to shift your grip on your phone, and people are going to drop a lot of iPhones unless they change that design. So I wanted to refresh myself on iOS again before I jump into the iPhone 6. And it's also been exactly a year. When I did my HTC One M8 review, was basically 1 year from when I switched to Android. So I wanted to go back for a refresher and, see how iOS has evolved in the last little while. So it was for a reason that I was doing that. And so this, I think, is important for you to actually get some perspective on the other side, because I'm going to be doing a review of the 5S. I know I'm super late. I don't care. But the point is not going to be the 5S. The point is going to be, I switched back to iOS. What was it like? And the conclusion, just to spoil it for you guys, is, you know what? It's not that bad. There's stuff I miss about Android, and there's stuff I'm going to miss about iOS when I switch back to Android. Siri is so much better than Google now that it's not even funny. And make whatever arguments you want, you're wrong. Siri is better than Google now right now. That will change in the future in all likelihood.
Although some of your claims were wrong.
I have some of them were right.
Yes.
And the actual experience of using it is better.
I do like
Straight
the
up.
fingerprint thing too.
The fingerprint
I gave you
unlock
that one.
is really well implemented? Is it a bulletproof piece of security hardware? No.
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 It's nice and fast though.
But it's very convenient. So there's things I'm going to miss about iOS. But at the end of the day, the conclusion that I came to is, you know what? It's trade-offs one way or the other. And I think if someone just put a gun to your head as an Android lover or as an iOS lover and said, use the other one for a year, for the first couple weeks or month, you'd be like, and then you'd be fine. It would be fine. You wouldn't die. That's the point. You wouldn't die. That took a lot longer than it should
It
have.
took so long. Now people might watch the video though, because they're gonna be able to get that in a more formalized form and for even longer.
Yeah. And the conclusion will be the same.
Yeah.
But I do make some more specific points. I actually have a pretty long bullet list. It's gonna be, I think, a pretty interesting video.
Someone suggested that I buy a 3310. Can you even buy those still? Is that possible?
I don't think so.
I wouldn't
Maybe
think
used.
so. And how could you get one on a carrier?
The battery would be super poopy. Yeah, I don't think you would need the carrier subsidy for a 3310.
Watch them pay you to take it. Like here's $50 cash if you take this phone on a plan.
This phone.
Same plan cost though, because it's my carrier, so they wouldn't.
You know
down the
what?
cost.
Hold on.
That was amazing timing.
Yeah, my phone just started
Sorry.
ringing. It's TELUS.
What?
Hold on. I think that's who it is. That's them, right?
Yeah. What? Answer it. Answer it.
No, no.
Answer
I'm
it.
not gonna answer
Come
it right
on.
now.
Come
Okay,
on.
no.
You have to. That would be amazing.
No, I don't want to talk to TELUS.
Oh, but
It's probably their customer sat. Okay, it's probably their customer sat. Hello? Hello? Oh no, it's UPS. It's UPS. Oh, okay.
Oh,
No, I think
what?
TELUS is 310, not 210.
That's a really close
It's
phone
really
number.
close. Anyway, okay. I think you just stumbled on actually a brilliant idea, which
Really low-end
Yeah.
phones with cashback?
yes. So a recycling program for phones. Imagine, okay, like there's so many different facets of this. So the carrier can probably get some kind of governmental credit
Probably.
for implementing
I'm
a
sure they
regimen
could,
like this.
yeah.
Okay. It all of a sudden opens up more premium carriers to people who can't afford a phone at all or
Yep.
are even a little bit tight on cash. If you go, okay, look, we had someone trade in this phone or whatever, and we will not only hand you this phone to use, but we're going to give you 2 months credit if you lock in for like 6 months. Tell you what, just give us a try. We're going to be making our money back because we're going to lock you in for a very short
And it's
period
going
of
to be
time.
subsidized at some point or something.
We're going to make this super accessible for everyone. We're going to have a positive environmental impact. And with the way that phone hardware is not changing in the same way that it used to. The 1M8 is faster than the 1M7, but not the way the 1M7 was faster than the
Yeah,
previous flagship. Like,
for
it's
sure.
slowing down.
Yeah.
How brilliant is that? You actually subsidize people to take used phones and use them.
That does kind of make sense because I know a lot of people that get rid of phones that are still working and like trade-in level get rid of, like not even trying to sell it or anything like that. Because like what am I trying to think of right now? Samsung S3s.
AT&T apparently gives you store credit on your recycled phone. I don't even. What about not store credit? What about
The
like
other way around.
What
Giving
about 3
someone
months?
that phone.
Yeah.
Because that's not solving the store credit isn't solving the recycling problem, which is I think the main reason why Linus is excited. Is the recycling problem. You're giving people these phones that would just end up landfilled. Or, yeah, because I don't know how much of a phone you can actually properly recycle.
Yeah. So I want them to just like hand you a phone and cash.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I want it to work. And you can like go buy a burger with your cash if you really want to, if you're willing to lock into a very short term. I think that would be really neat.
Yeah, I don't expect it to be a ton of money. Or I liked what you said about the we'll pay your first 2 months kind of idea.
Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah, like that's actually pretty cool. You can get a phone, you don't have to pay for it for a while, the phone is free.
Imagine if carriers were confident enough in their service that they were willing to offer a try before you buy. Maybe this is just a fantasy.
I would only be scared of people running away with the phones, but then if you're doing like low-end used phones,
Speaking of trying before you buy, we should probably do our sponsor segment here. So Hotspot Shield has their trial of their Elite service, which you can go ahead and head over to bit.ly/HSshare. Go there, download the Elite trial, and give it a shot. We actually had to use Hotspot Shield for something not that long ago. We have a new sponsor that asked us to go on their website and pick out some like a try at home thing, but the Canadian site doesn't offer that service, and they have the most bulletproof geo lock that I think I have ever encountered. And like, I bought a Google Glass from Canada. They were more hardcore than Google Glass, which was really difficult, like, to figure out how to buy one if you weren't in the US. So anyway, we were trying to like pick out these things, and the only way we could get on their site was to use Hotspot Shield. So Hotspot Shield allows you to fake your location, which is great for all kinds of things. You can access content that otherwise might be firewalled in your country. It's funny, we've actually had quite a few people comment that Hotspot Shield's website is blocked in their country. Don't worry, there are other websites where you can download Hotspot Shield.
What?
You won't be able to use our link, but you can.
Oh man.
Because they don't want people using Hotspot Shield to circumvent censorship. So you can circumvent those kinds of things. You can also use it with online.
So it's not Hotspot Shield blocking them.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the actual firewall blocking people from circumventing the firewall with Hotspot Shield. So Hotspot Shield works on your desktop, on your phone, on your tablet, on whatever else the case may be. Allows you to circumvent those kinds of pesky blocks, as well as circumvent other geo restrictions, like from video streaming services like Netflix. Although the word on the street is that Hulu is cracking down on VPN users in general. Has there been an update to that?
I don't know if there's been an update to that, but that was definitely a thing.
Yeah,
but I don't think Netflix wasn't a part of that.
Yeah, Netflix wasn't part of that, so you can definitely still use a lot of video streaming services. With Hotspot Shield, you can decide, oh, I want to be from Great Britain, I want to be from US. I've had people who tried Hotspot Shield, so guys, do give it a try. I've had people try it and say, hey, Linus, it slowed down my internet. Like, you don't use Hotspot Shield when you're gaming. It's a one button to turn it on and off. You don't use it when you're gaming because your ping times will be terrible, because you are intentionally redirecting all of the data to a different country before it goes to wherever it needs to go. I mean, the server could be down the street from you. You could normally get like 3 millisecond pings, and you're redirecting it to like the UK and back.
The amount of people that I've convinced that I play Counter-Strike in Valve headquarters is amazing, because I somehow get 5 ping when playing Counter-Strike.
Right.
So everyone's just like, oh my god, 5 ping. And I'm like, yeah, I'm on LAN. I'm at Valve HQ. And they're like, whoa, cool. I've convinced so many people. That's totally off topic, but
fantastic.
I thought it was awesome.
All right, our other sponsor of the show today is ASUS with the G750JZ. You can see that both Luke and I are powered by this particular gaming notebook and food. We're also powered by food, and basically what this is, it is a cream of the cream gaming notebook with a GTX 880M. And the big thing here is that it exists within a pricing realm that is actually not that different from something like a gaming desktop. Is it exactly the same? No. Could you get a slightly better value for your dollar with a gaming desktop in terms of sheer FPS per money spent out of your pocket? Yes. But the point is that it's not completely out to lunch anymore, and it does have the added benefit of being portable. The coolest thing I think about it is the fact that the GTX 880M inside here, I mean, we've known forever that the M version is not the same as the not M version that goes in a desktop machine. But what we've never seen before is only a 1 generational gap between the M version and the desktop version. This is almost equivalent, other than the memory clock speed, to a GTX 770. So you're getting a very satisfactory gaming experience in recent titles like BioShock Infinite, Battlefield 4 on a notebook, because it's actually clocked at almost the same speed as a 770 desktop card, which, if you guys remember, is about equivalent to a GTX 680. So that's only, flagship-wise, one end and an increment, because we got the 780 and then the 780 Ti, so like one increment and then one full generation back from a current flagship desktop card, which I think is really, really cool. It also runs cool enough that we can actually survive this show with them on our lap.
Yeah, they're actually not bad.
No sweat marks on the bottom.
I've had laptops before that, if like, because I'm wearing shorts right now, you're wearing jeans, so you might have survived, but like, it's sitting on my bare knees. And if it was bad, I would not be comfortable right now, and it's totally fine.
So there you go, guys. Thank you. Huge thank you to our sponsors, Hotspot, Shield, and Asus, who also happens to be the presenting sponsor. That's why that laptop sits there. For providing us with these notebooks and these VPNs that we legitimately need to do our jobs.
Yeah!
Yeah!
One thing that I want to bring up really quickly, I don't have this as a topic because, one, I don't live in the States, and two, this is a very deep topic and I don't have time to fully research it, but FCC chairman, whatever his name is, something Wheeler, people are trying to get him kicked out because he's doing a whole bunch of bull crap and there's stuff going on. So, if you live in the States and you're interested in net neutrality and all that kind of stuff, maybe do some research on FCC chairman Tom Wheeler. Someone just said it in the chat. Yeah.
Chat is so useful, except when it's just a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah.
And, like, gets me angry calls from sponsors about how, like, our content is obscene.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and do that Twitter blitz we promised you guys. Professor Nick Butler, can you comment on a hypothetical Corsair RGB keyboard release date? Oh, man, I'm sorry, I can't. What I will tell you is that they didn't show off RGB at PAX.
No.
But I believe they are planning to show it at Computex. That is all that I know.
I know that Barrington, one of the watchers of the WAN show and the after party, has apparently won one of them. They had that contest thing going on.
Really?
So he's getting it whenever it comes out, I guess.
So Barrington will probably be a good person to ask, because when he or she, him, when he gets his tracking number, well, we'll know.
Yeah.
We'll know that either Corsair's shipping him a brick, or...
Oh my god, that would be the best troll ever. If they shipped everyone like membrane keyboards and they're like, you can use these until the new one shows up. Just to trick everyone?
Would that be like a good viral thing? Okay, like remember when Microsoft did the whole like Xbox One in the Shark Tank thing?
Yeah.
If it turned out that Xbox was actually full of like lizard entrails or something, like is that funny or is that just them like does that get?
I think the sharks would eat it.
Right. Okay, let's just move on. In Portugal, carrier locked and no contract, a bunch of phone pricing in dollars that probably I can't relate to.
That looks like corrected.
Is that US?
LG G2 for $622? Isn't that cheap?
No. That Galaxy S5 for $900. Actually, I'm gonna do my thoughts on the Galaxy S5 as well as the Gear Fit later on in the show. So
how much did G2s cost then?
I don't know, less than that I think. Any chance BIOS update, for example, that the Devil's Canyon K CPUs will work on Z87 motherboards, and if not, why? I doubt it. Often, aside from updating the chipset, even when there's no socket change, Intel will update the electrical specifications of the socket to be capable of things like tighter voltage regulation, for example. So a lot of the time, you'll get newer motherboards. So for example, very late LGA 775 motherboards could work with almost every previous LGA 775 CPU. But then the later LGA 775 CPUs were like barely backwards compatible, if at all. And that was probably the best example of a very long-lasting socket whose compatibility, actually, forward and backward, wasn't very strong.
So it's $650.
Are you going to make a video about the April updates to Shield? There is some really cool stuff. I had not planned on a dedicated video. We have talked about them on WAN Show before. Apparently something about a recipe from Canada. Thank you, Barnacles. Silver makes me wonder what the gold tier would be if they add one. You know what? I don't think there's any rumored gold tier. I think the Android program is just called Silver. But who knows? I guess they're leaving themselves flexibility up and down.
Yeah, seriously. Platinum tier.
Will you guys ever come to DreamHack?
Wooden tier.
We're not really planning on it right now, but that's not to say that anything's impossible.
Yeah.
Watching WAN Show on a toilet. Okay. Touchscreens are the work of the devil. We've gotten off topic a little bit. Something about not liking maple syrup. Barnacles, get off my Twitter feed. I don't even know if that guy's watching. In Sweden, there's a 14-day free trial for phones and contracts. Can only be used once per person, but it's great. Why is Sweden so progressive about everything?
Because they're awesome. And they're from Scandinavia, and Scandinavia is awesome.
I'm in a dilemma.
You can't camera. I think the 12 hertz thing is a troll from the Newegg guys.
Because our equipment is so much better than theirs.
Yeah.
They
and
want
the
people
skilled
to...
operators using them, and the people in front of them.
I know. Everything about our operation is just vastly superior. You know what's funny? You know what's funny is they were closing in on the NCIX Tech Tips channel in terms of subscribers. Like they got really close, and then all of a sudden, a completely untrained group of people came into the NCIX Tech Tips, of whom there are about a third as many as the Newegg TV team. And then with me coming in like 5 hours a week, they took off again, and now they're growing way faster than Newegg TV again. So you know
what?
what?
See if we. Oh, that's the new.
Paul, eat it. Kyle, eat it. Joanne, you're not there anymore, but you can eat it too.
Steve was really nice.
Steve can eat it. What?
I mean,
Steve can eat something pleasant like cake.
Yeah, there we go.
But he can still eat it.
Actually, Paul's really nice too. But still,
he can still eat it.
Eat it.
Most companies second-hand phones to emerging countries and send. Yeah, that's another
I actually
option.
had no idea. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. But it's usually like super old, crappy stuff. Like what I would like to see is a program more like, hey, here's the last gen one that's like only a year old.
S3s,
yeah,
or
stuff like that.
S4s or whatever.
It seems I've been banned from talking about 12 hertz master race. Yeah, that sounds about right. SaskTel will give you $250 for anything, including their TV, internet, and phone.
But that's got to be like, if you sign up for a new one, that's not helping the recycling thing again.
This transitions well into one of our topics. We're actually going to be talking about Google Glass's BOM cost being $80. So why don't we move on to our next topic for now? Okay. What do we have?
Well, next is the Heartbleed criminal data thing, and then something.
I'm so excited about Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher and like everyone's gonna be in the new movie.
I just hope they don't screw it up.
You know,
with all this stuff, see, this is why it scares me. With everything that I've seen so far, it looks awesome. With everything that I had seen at a certain point in time with Elder Scrolls Online, it looks awesome, and now I won't touch it or even be within a vicinity of it because it's disgusting. In my personal opinion, if you like it, I'm sorry, but I don't like it.
Okay. Well, okay, let's all just back up for a second.
There's a high possibility of things screwing up.
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, poopy. You know, I think it could have been good, but George Lucas was involved. And therefore, yeah. Now, the whole throwing out the expanded universe thing, I have mixed feelings on, because there was a lot of stuff from the expanded universe that was, quite frankly, 100 times better than anything that was canon.
Really good.
A lot of it was fantastic. I do see that even though they've thrown it out, it's not like they haven't left in the possibility to adopt parts of it, which I think is great. Mm-hmm. But to me, it's a little bit frustrating that they basically went, okay, no, the whole thing is scrapped, and they kind of that's all they've told us, when there is so much lore that is so plausible and so good and really doesn't need to be reimagined, that they could have just left alone. But right now, I think, what is it? Clone Wars TV show, which I saw a little bit of once, and holy cow, was it ever terrible. So,
I never watched it.
Clone Wars animated series, prequels, and then the 3 original movies means that of the body of work that is now considered canon, most of it isn't very good.
Yeah, that's why I'm scared.
Which is a real shame.
But like, they are lining up the right things. Like you said, they have the actors back. And so, as far as I've heard so far, Ford is like the main focus. Is he not?
I don't know.
Han Solo?
I'm not sure.
As far as I've heard, he's the main focus of the movie, which actually could be kind of good.
I don't know. I mean, okay, maybe this is me being kind of crazy, but I would actually like for episode 7 to be the last time we see Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford.
But it could be a really good transition. Like, they could introduce new characters with it or do something. I
mean, one possibility, and I'd love it if this is what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing. I mean, what I would love to see, because they have a system, like they have a team of people that are dedicated to curating content and deciding what's canon and what's not. What I would love to see them do is actually skip a bunch again. Because if you look at the original 3 movies,
that's what they have to do.
Yeah, but like skip skip a lot.
Yeah.
So actually create an intermediary story that could easily be filled in by having the original people do voice acting, for example, for digital representations of themselves, so through video games or through animated series.
Because even if their voice is going to sound a little bit older, it'll be easier to portray that on a younger character and have it be believable.
And you can do a whole lot with
editing and
so I mean, that's what I would like to see them do, because you look at even the original 3 movies, there's a pretty significant chunk of time between even those movies. It's like the rebellion goes from existing on like Yavin 4, like that's the entire rebel alliance, to like all of a sudden now they've got a fleet, and then like all of a sudden, well, now they have like a badass fleet and like salmon piloting their ships and they can win a major battle.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of room here for a lot of the expanded universe stuff to still work if they skip forward enough.
Mm-hmm.
If you see what I mean.
Yeah, no, I actually definitely agree with that. I like that idea. They've already done it once, so like I don't think anyone's going to protest too much.
So that's what I want. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to get my hopes up too much, because
exactly.
I used to be a pretty hardcore Star Wars buff.
I know.
Like, knew everything.
I think compared to the mass majority of people, you still would be.
So, I really want it to be good. I loved what Abrams did with Star Trek.
Yep.
Really liked it.
For sure.
But I was never a huge Star Trek guy.
Yeah.
I was never a Trekkie.
I think we were both on the Star Wars bandwagon more than the Trek.
So
bandwagon.
the potential here for me to be disappointed it's like Phantom Menace all over again. Potentially. I really don't think Abrams could make a movie that bad.
I don't think so. Which is like, that helps a lot. And the actors coming in helps a lot. And everything that I've gotten so far helps a lot. I'm just still trying to disengage as much as I can.
I mean, okay. The one part of me is like, oh, Harrison Ford, ah! But then one part of me too is like, the fact that they brought in all of them, we're either going to end up with this weird, like, fan service thing where they bring them in just to give them, like, a little bit of screen time, or we're going to end up with this thing where they give them way too much screen time and it just doesn't make any sense because they're all decrepit now.
I wouldn't mind just, like, closures on certain parts. Like fan service, but like closure that makes sense, or flashback style stuff.
What if, like, movie number 1, opening scene, they kill Luke Skywalker? How do you feel about that? What if Mark Hamill comes back in for just long enough to say there is another Skywalker and dies? Like,
if they do it in a way that makes sense, I would be okay with it.
Because I mean, I think there's a lot of potential for us to see an Obi-Wan Kenobi type role for him.
Yeah.
Where maybe they don't kill him in the opening scene, but I think there's a lot of potential for him to die.
No, I definitely see. I don't mind, especially when it's been this long. Like, because I have to draw this in. Sorry, everyone. But Firefly, people have talked about. That was awkward.
Yeah.
People have talked about Firefly sequels and what could possibly happen if they brought in a season 2 and all that kind of stuff in the past. So I've seen some of this theorizing, and you kind of need to either kill people.
Yeah.
Or move them off to the side in some way.
Yeah.
Or get rid of them, or just put them in weird auxiliary roles or something like that. Maybe keep 1 or 2, but you can't necessarily keep the whole group, because people will have grown up and changed, and their acting styles can change.
Yep.
How their mannerisms work can change, and it won't feel the same. So, but if they moved them into, like you had just said, a Obi-Wan Kenobi type role, I actually think that could work really well.
Someone just said they can't kill Luke because he exists in a lot of the expanded universe stuff and not all of it was scrapped, except if they skipped forward far enough to his death, then there's plenty of time to fill in the intermediary stuff.
Which is what he was saying before.
Which is exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Anyway, so moving on to our next actual topic, because I don't know how we ended up talking about that for so long.
I actually was going to ask you how we got there.
I don't remember.
I have no clue.
Delons will know. Shout out to Delons. We never do that. He actually does the timetable that goes in the archive on YouTube.
Shout out to Ghost, because the doc.
Yeah, because helping us work on the doc. We actually have some pretty cool community helpers helping us with the show
It's
these
helped with
days.
the WAN show a lot lately.
Pretty fantastic people overall. All right, so let's talk about this article on BBC. Heartbleed used to uncover data from cyber criminals. Are you a criminal?
Are you
a
criminal? I'm not a criminal.
You don't get the reference. It's okay. I only hate you a little bit for not getting it.
Is that
all right.
from Spaceballs?
Go ahead.
I'm not sure. So Heartbleed has apparently been used to track down black hat hackers. Black hat hackers are like the ones that are maliciously trying to hurt people, like steal credit card data and all that kind of stuff. Gray hat is when they kind of float on both sides, and white hat is when people are trying to hack, but for the greater good. So they've been using this to access closed forums, such as Dark Ode and Damage Lab. And according to Wired, smart devices such as home routers, CCTV cameras, baby monitors, and home management gadgets were now known to be vulnerable. I always feel such awkwardly on the fence with this kind of stuff. Because it's like, I don't want you guys to use this to track people. But then you stopped bad people, potentially.
But that's the whole argument. That's how the NSA starts monitoring us.
Yeah, which
because
is
they're
why,
finding bad people.
Which I wouldn't be surprised is why this article even came out in the first place. Because they're like, no, we're not terrible. So just remember that when listening to this article, or if you read it later or anything like that.
Well, no, this was anti-malware researchers after Heartbleed was exposed, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know.
So they were using it to track people. I don't know. I could make terrible analogies. I'm not going to bother of things that exist that you could use in bad ways, and that doesn't mean that government entities should be able to go around the law to be able to use them and all that kind of stuff. Also, cyber law is really confusing and weird anyways, and a lot of it doesn't even exist.
Can you break the law to stop lawbreakers? You can turn this into a whole long conversation about capital punishment.
Yeah.
Can you murder someone to stop them from murdering other people?
This is a really big topic right now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a huge deal because of the lethal injection,
yeah, and then they screwed up,
that's going on right now.
Didn't end up killing his partner.
So the supplier of what they were using for lethal injections, and this is all paraphrasing. My wife's been following it really closely because she's a pharmacist. So the drug aspect of all this is fascinating to her because pharmacists. Anyway,
find those things interesting,
I guess. So the drug supplier that was supplying the drugs for lethal injections was getting threatened to the point where they were like, okay, look, we're not going to supply it anymore. So they had to source alternate drugs from alternate sources that they were keeping secret. And then basically what was happening was you were supposed to do one drug and then another one, and then there was a collapsed vein somewhere in the mix. And the first drug is supposed to make the patient victim? Prisoner? Anyway, the person...
Executee?
Sure, executee, thank you. Cutie?
Doesn't really work.
You can't spell executee without cutie. So supposed to make them unconscious, and then the subsequent injection or injections were supposed to do the deed, so to speak, but there have been cases where they appear to be trying to get out of the chair, which would imply that the pain that they're undergoing is also accompanied by some level of consciousness. So I actually don't understand how we got on this topic again. Anyway, that's like a huge deal right now.
People were also wondering if it was intentional. I really don't know the details of the story very well. This was not a planned discussion, so sorry if I'm wrong. But apparently he took a very long, prolonged time to kill someone. So like watched them suffer. So people were like, well, maybe someone set it up so that he was suffering. Which, like...
I don't know. It all starts to sound like a movie plot at this point.
It does, which is part of the problem.
Which isn't to say that movie won't be based on a true story of what's happening right now.
Yeah.
It sounds like a movie plot.
Again, I might have heard this on the radio. I don't even remember where I got it from. This was not a planned topic. Sorry if I'm wrong. I could definitely be wrong. Don't take that as...
That's about as disclaimed as anything has ever been ever.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
So huge thanks to Rainfall Within for posting the Heartbleed cyber criminal thing on the forum.
That's what we were talking about.
Apple iWatch production has allegedly begun. And this was posted by Alex Goes High. Thank you very much for that. Original article is from Next Power Up. So we're going to go ahead and head over there. This is a concept, by the way. This is not actually what it's going to look like. Fortunately, because I wouldn't buy that. So the China Times has reported that Apple has gone into production. So the rumor is that during the first quarter of product availability, there's going to be anywhere from 2.5 to 3.5 million units of iWatch. So that's in Q2. And in the second quarter, production is rumored to be going to leap to 14 to 15 million units. I plan to buy one. I plan to try it. and I will see what I think about it.
Is there plans for like a BlackBerry watch and a Windows watch? I'm
I know
assuming no
Microsoft
BlackBerry, but
Microsoft has acknowledged the wearable market. I don't know that there's an actual plan
okay.
or anything that
I
they've
think
announced.
something interesting that we could do is a whole ecosystem comparison video.
Right. Get our hands on a Windows phone. Actually, Nokia's offered to send us a Windows phone to try out. I actually need to get back to them because I should definitely do that.
If you are ingrained in an ecosystem, so you have their watch, you have their phone, you have their OS.
How well does it all work together?
How not necessarily comparing like the OS, because we know a lot of people, including myself and a lot of the viewers, aren't gonna like OS 10, but like comparing how well they sync together and all that kind of stuff. Like if there's iHome or whatever, like getting that kind of stuff too, I think that could be pretty interesting.
Speaking of how well things within the same ecosystem work together, I think I'll use this as an opportunity to give my thoughts on the Galaxy S5. So Samsung sent me a Galaxy S5 as well as a Gear Fit. I didn't have long enough with them. I only had them for about a week, so I didn't have long enough with them to do a full review. But what I told Samsung is, okay, sure, send it to me for a week. I'm not going to do a review, but I'll talk about it on my show. So this is just my, just to give you guys, to give you guys some idea, this is what my notes look like.
Yeah, I didn't.
Before I turn it into a script that makes any kind of sense. They're not in any particular order. These are just notes that I make to myself as I observe them. So I apologize if this is a little bit disjointed. I was impressed that even though the plasticiness of the Galaxy series is still very much there, the actual flex to the phone is much less than the previous generation S4, and I don't think Samsung got enough credit for that. They managed to make the phone a lot more rigid without actually making it, out of a solid piece of metal the same way that other premium phone makers do. Which isn't to say that I necessarily think that justifies making all your phones out of plastic, but whatever. I hate the positioning of the lock button directly opposed to volume. It just seems like nobody can get this right. Nobody can find two spots on a phone to put volume and lock where you don't have to press all of them. Apple gets it more right than most. G2, yes. Apple gets it more right than most because their buttons are stiff enough that you won't accidentally press them when you're trying to press one or the other. But on the Galaxy S5, I was constantly accidentally mashing the volume when I was trying to lock or unlock the phone. An issue I don't have nearly as much with the One because you can wake it up by tapping on the screen. Another thing that the G2, which you don't have anymore, does really well. Going back to a hardware home button really felt like a step backwards. When I did my One M8 review, I talked about how I felt like it was a mixed bag, but I had never tried to go from my One M7 to my One M8 and then back to the One M7 with its hardware buttons. And what I realized is that going back after having used the One M8 for so long really felt like a last generation implementation. I've gotten used to them now. The extra width is more noticeable than you would think due to the thicker edges. So that's the width of the phone physically itself. I couldn't figure out what I was talking about until the end there. So even though the HTC One M8 is quite long in order to accommodate those boom sound speakers, I really like the speakers. I'm willing to make that trade-off. And on the S5, that width really made it challenging for me to use it because of my small hands. But the shape and all that, basically, it was not easy for me to handle compared to the One M8. With that said, everyone's making fun of the backing material on the S5. I like it. It reminds me of the first gen Nexus 7, and I think it's great. That grippiness is probably the one thing that made the phone somewhat manageable for me because I really didn't find the shape that easy for me to hold. The One M8, by contrast, especially the titanium version, the one that I have, is quite slippery. Another contrast between the One M8 and the Galaxy S5 is the crummy speaker positioning. It is so noticeable coming from a device with front-facing speakers, going to something like the iPhone 5 with them bottom-mounted speakers, or something like the Galaxy S5 with that horrendous rear-mounted speaker implementation.
That was one thing that I wanted to bring up, actually, is you scalded it slightly for the hardware home button.
Yes.
Do you feel the same way about that one?
No. The thing that I don't like about because this button has other functionality, even if it's just a fingerprint reader.
Okay.
And having the, okay, so it's not the home button, I guess, that bothered me. It was the multitasking and the back. Because I like the way that things shift around contextually when I rotate the phone. Whereas with this, it's just one button. It's just always one button. Whereas if it's things that can actually change a little bit and can indicate, oh, hey, right now you're going to be lowering your keyboard versus right now you're going to be going back within your program, I like that, and I've gotten used to that.
Right.
Anyway, rear-mounted speakers are terrible. They need to go away. Prompting about default. Oh, this is good. I originally had this down as a really positive point about the phone because I had to look up not that long ago how to unbind default applications for actions within Android because it's pretty hidden. Samsung, when you actually bind something by default, says, hey, here's how you undo it. And the only issue is it comes up every time. And I was like, really? Like, there's no go away. There's probably a way to disable the notification somewhere within the TouchWiz settings, but I was
no
amused
more
because
or something.
yeah, but it came up every time. I don't mind Samsung's keyboard, but like so many things in TouchWiz, I really feel like it takes up too much of the precious screen real estate. Gesture-based smartwatch waking is still terrible. I guess I'm shifting gears to the Gear Fit now. So the whole time I was using the S5, I switched from my Pebble to the Gear Fit, and there are some things about it that I like. The screen is beautiful. I think the industrial design is a lot better than the Pebble, but gesture-based waking is terrible. And if you're gonna have gesture-based waking, make it a flick like Pebble to turn on the backlight. Don't make it this contrived thing. Samsung had every opportunity to just make it so I can flick it or tap it in order to see what's on the screen, and they didn't do it. It's just asinine. And the battery life on it is good enough that they should at least give you the option, because it lasted a good 5 or 6 days in the default scheme where the screen was barely ever on. And if it was on more often when I'm just waving around and I only got 2 or 3 days out of it, I could probably live with that a lot more than I could, having the screen on all the time and having it only getting like 1 day out of it. I understand the HTC chin bar now. The back button on the S5 is so low that it's actually uncomfortable to reach. So having that chin bar on the One is a more natural position for the hand versus trying to force your thumb and contort it down here. So as much as the chin bar was something I complained about in my One M8 review, a couple of things. So number one is I get it now, and number two is when I complained about the unevenness of the keyboard in landscape mode, someone pointed out, hey Linus, if you just went this way, then you'd have your software contextual buttons move to here and the chin bar here, and it would actually be centered again. So good design on the One. I realize I'm bringing up a lot of good things about the One M8 in my S5 impression.
S5 review, the One M8 love story.
I figured out what I don't like about TouchWiz because it's really not that slow anymore. Oh yeah, so this was the note that goes along with that information density thing. Information density is so low. The stock messaging app makes me crazy. In spite of the larger screen and no on-screen buttons, there are actually fewer texts on screen compared to Sense UI. Why? And I mean, you look at the way that they've talked about some of the things that they do, how it's like old people optimized. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's why I don't like it. I like really high information density on my screen. I like to use the real estate because I can see just fine, and I can press things accurately. But maybe TouchWiz just isn't made for me.
If you're on your Samsung phone, can you go to Google default keyboard instead of the Samsung keyboard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that doesn't change the fact that your text app, just everything takes up too much space.
Yeah.
And you can get a different text app too, of course. But why load it with these things?
It's in my, well, not for this one,
Yeah.
but it's in my default download programs for another one, a custom texting app. So
Text size scaling doesn't even help much because in things like the settings menu, UI elements are still huge. They don't resize. Only the labels do.
Right.
I love the idea of the Gear Fit. I hate the gesture thing. Blah, 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 blah. The strap on the Gear Fit is janky. It's not that easy to put on. It's actually... Did I show it to you?
Mm-mm.
It's just two little nubbins that go into the other side. There's no actual, like, lock.
See, just go with the tried and true on that one.
Like, why? I understood with the original Galaxy Gear, they wanted to put, like, a camera and a microphone in it. It's like, okay, I don't agree with you, but I understand what you're doing. With the Gear Fit, just put a watch strap on it. Don't reinvent the wheel. This is literally, like that is the most perfect use of don't reinvent the wheel that I have ever managed to come up with. You're reinventing something that's been around for hundreds of years and is tried and true. It attaches here and here and clasps here. That is all. Oh yeah, and the vertical design of the Gear Fit is terrible because most of the schemes for it are right side up like this. There's 2 watch faces for it that are right side up like this, and once again, information density. They don't take advantage of all that screen real estate.
So-
what I would like to see is time here, weather here, the date here, and like use up all that space. Instead, it just puts like massive tall numbers like this. I'm just like,
So you're gonna have to do your like, huh?
yeah.
Huh?
It's gonna be like a martial arts like training class. Secretly,
Gear Kwando.
secretly the Koreans are building an army.
Oh my goodness. That'd be epic. You want to do the nod thing?
The setup process for the
Okay.
gear is great. When you pair it, the app just installs automatically. I think that's fantastic. There's no share to YouTube by default in the gallery on the S5,
What?
which for a YouTuber like me is just infuriating. And you know what? Within the YouTube app on iOS, you can't just upload. You can only upload to YouTube from the gallery. So I'm just like, how are these things so broken? So that'll be something from my iPhone 5S review.
Right, a little sneak peek.
I think that is pretty much it. Those are my thoughts on the Galaxy S5. I really don't think the build quality is as bad as people are making it out to be. It's just that the industry has moved on, and Samsung's
Everyone wants
small
metal now.
improvement is not enough when you compare it to Sony's latest phones, HTC's latest phones, and anything Apple's made in the last, since the iPhone 4, I guess, so in like the last 4 or 5 years.
Right.
All right, speaking of phones, this is so fantastic. I love it.
Oh yeah, this is really cool.
This
We
is
gotta
from-
go back up when you're done this one.
Okay,
But yeah,
I don't even think I care that much about that Bluetooth ring.
I just
Is
want
that
to
what
talk
you're
about the creation that Ghost and I came up with, which we both think is vastly superior.
Sure. Okay, so this is the Pi phone. It was created by a software engineer.
Really cool.
So cool. So it's made out of a Raspberry Pi. Here, do you want to walk through? Because I got this playing for them.
Sure. So it's made out of a Raspberry Pi, a touchscreen, which he gives the name of inside the video, a 2,500 milliamp hour LiPo battery, GSM GPRS module, and the total cost is around $158. That being said, he just like got it working.
Yeah,
And-
these are zip ties.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
literally. It's zip tied together.
I think this is more of a like, look, this works, you can do this, not necessarily this is the best possible situation. There's also some issues. One of the reasons why it's not in a case is because without heat sinks on it, the thing gets really hot, and if it was actually in an enclosed case, you might have problems with it. So like, it's not there yet. Right now it only supports calling. So he shows here he actually does call someone. Unfortunately, the number shows on screen and now it's blowing up, but
I love engineers because, check this out. He built a cell phone, and then it's presumably his wife in the background, and he's calling so he calls himself. He calls his own landline. Check this out. Hold on a second. What's my number again? Engineers, man. Engineers, man.
That's funny. Whatever, man.
I love
I think
engineers.
it's really
It's
cool.
like-
I had to show Taryn this immediately.
Scratch builds cell phone. Can't remember phone number. Whoever you are, what's the guy's
David
name?
Hunt.
David Hunt. You are so awesome. Like, you are so awesome. I love people that are just that into what they do.
Yeah,
That what they do is more important than their own phone number.
Yeah.
It's like, you are cool.
and it's actually pretty awesome. I thought this was super cool. I hope it goes further because we need to get away from the ultra trackedness of everything right now because it's kind of horrible. And yeah, that's about it for that one.
An actually open source OS.
Yes.
Unlike what Android has turned into.
Yeah, seriously.
But then it's just a matter of time until someone turns it into not open source again. So whatever.
Yeah.
Where are we moving on to?
Okay, so the nod.
The Nod.
The
Ah,
Bluetooth
yes.
ring.
So this was posted by Top War Gamer originally on the forum, and this is a Bluetooth ring. Should we just show the video of this because I
We
think
can,
that demonstrates it pretty well.
We can show all the that probably doesn't work that wayness of the video. My biggest problem with this is actually that it's based around Bluetooth.
Oh shoot, I'm not screen sharing.
Because Bluetooth is just like the biggest thing that doesn't work very well, in my opinion. There's so many problems with it pairs, but they decide not to talk to each other, or it won't pair,
It's
or
gotten a lot
something
better.
else is paired to it. I know, but it's still kind of rough.
It's gotten a lot better.
It's still kind of rough. I don't know.
You like it rough.
I don't think you can switch into between devices easily enough for a ring to be what I'm going to want to use.
And
personally.
I wouldn't. How much is it? 150 bucks?
150,
Yeah.
140, yeah, 140.
150 bucks. I don't think I would pay $150 for something that looks very elegant because of how well photographed it is here, but is
But
actually
giant.
super chunky.
Yeah.
Like, this is a finger. That's not even a skinny finger. This is a third the width of a finger, like sticking out of the inside of your hand.
It's
Like,
really big.
It's
And they show a
yeah.
guy in the video like playing Halo. I'm like, no, man.
Here's the video. We'll let you guys
It's
check out the
fairly
video.
short.
So do you want to talk about what your concept is while they check out the video?
Okay, so not just mine. Definitely Ghost is in this as well. We started arguing about the merits of this ring, and we ended up coming up with the thing that we would rather it was.
Right.
So this actually totally worked out. So we would get rid of almost everything in this ring. We would leave it with just the swiped texting kind of idea,
Yeah.
but remove the actual ability to like do that on a TV. It now only pairs with your smartwatch.
Yeah.
When a text opens up, you can read it and then come up with different shapes. Like you could bind shapes to different words, or you could go with a keyboard mapping. So like yes on a keyboard is probably not going to be any other word if you're one word texting. So if you went like this, it
They
types
can't see
yes.
you right now.
Oh, okay.
So if you waved your hand in a shape,
If you wave your hand in a shape that correlates with either a keyboard design, you could set it up however you want. A keyboard design, or maybe you bound it to a circle. So yes is a circle. So you get a message on your smartwatch and you can just go whoop, and you can reply that way.
I don't like your idea. I think the functionality is too limited. If it was like 20 bucks,
No, that's why.
oh, so you want it to be cheap.
That's why we're moving everything, because it's supposed
Right.
to be dirt cheap,
I
and
see.
and much smaller. Hopefully embeddable in an actual ring.
Right. I think we're a few generations of technology away from a smart ring that actually makes an ounce of sense.
Yes.
This one isn't it to me.
No.
I might order one just to try it so that I can tell you guys how stupid it is.
I
Just
like the idea.
just like that huge like wrist communicator sized
Is that even
smartwatch,
coming?
the Neptune Pine. Yeah, it'll come at some point. I ordered it.
Yeah.
They're still progressing, so
Sure, why not? In the thread where this was posted by Top War Gamer, he said that I would be super interested because I'm interested in interacting with things in different ways, and he was totally right. And I do find this interesting. I just do not think this is the one.
I mean, in theory, it allows a bunch of different stuff. It can be a universal controller, allowing effortless communication with all of your smart devices in your connected life, including phones, tablets, Google Glass, watches, home appliances, TVs, computers, and more. You can use it as a media controller. You can use it for selfies, to answer calls. So you could like use it as like a remote, camera shutter, for example. The flat surface of the ring, so it's meant to be worn on the inside, the way that they're wearing it, which would just make it uncomfortable to close your fist.
The worst possible
So
way.
the flat surface of the ring is meant to be, it has a tiny capacitive touch panel with 2 programmable buttons on either side, and then you can type in the air similar to swipe, and the battery lasts for a day.
Yeah, I'm not really interested in this one. But like, imagine you took almost all those features out and just made it work with your smartwatch in some sort of way. That's the only thing it has to pair to, because I'm not really going to want to use this for much else anyways.
Right.
That's the only thing it has to pair to, so you're not going to screw around with Bluetooth that much. When Bluetooth is only trying to do one thing, like if you're not repeatedly trying to pair it with a billion different things throughout your day, it's actually usually pretty okay. So if you pair the ring and the smartwatch and just leave it, it's probably fine. And then if you came up with stuff like gesture controls for doing certain things, I think that could be cool, because smartwatches are really interesting and I would like to be able to interact with them more. But when we're seeing stuff like the Google, what is it called? Is it Google Watch? I don't remember, but it's essentially Google Now, but it's the watch level.
Oh yeah, I remember reading about that.
Yeah. That kind of stuff is a lot of voice controlled interaction, which like if you're in a meeting,
Yep.
you don't want to talk to your watch.
Yeah.
Text message mom, yes, that's fine. When you could just be like, oh, it's up, spin, done.
Right. I mean, I think really for me,
If it's super cheap.
the holy grail is going to be some kind of eye tracking technology that I can use to control things. So a Google Glass type device that is way better and way cheaper.
Oh yeah.
That I can use to just kind of like do stuff quietly
Mhm.
while people aren't paying attention.
Yeah, that
Speaking
totally
of
makes sense.
Google, okay, hold on. We got
It's
at
gonna have
least
to be way better again.
2 more topics that we really need to get to.
The teardown.
So one posted originally by Nice Hat. I want to do this one first because I have a poll question that I want to hit
Oh,
people
yeah,
with. Can you
okay.
create a poll in the meantime?
Sure.
So businessweek.com has an article about China's plan to build a massive gaming They're calling it like a park, but they mean park like industrial park, as far as I can tell, like not like with slides. So the idea is that the centerpiece is going to be a massive gaming stadium for things like live tournaments, and then around it they want to attract, oops, I haven't actually shown, around it they want to attract game companies to set up their offices there and turn this into like a video gaming sort of hub. Fascinating.
My only problem with this is like I have a lot of friends that watch esports. Like my main core group of friends, pretty much everybody watches esports at some level.
Right.
Maybe not that much, but they do watch it. And the main common theme I find is it's nice that you can watch it on a tablet or your computer. And while I think a lot of our group would go out to these events to see these things, I don't actually see a crazy amount of people doing it. And
People
one thing
do
was
attend them though.
I know that when I was in Korea, I went to the StarCraft finals. It was being streamed in two places: the arena that it was in, and GOM TV, which is another one. When I was at GOM TV, there was 4 people there, and they had live casters. 2 of the most famous casters in the world live casting it. There's 4 people there.
Right.
Okay, where the actual tournament actually was with the players, so you're going to expect to see a lot more people there. That makes sense. There was a lot more people, but until the actual final round, there was a few empty chairs, and there was none of the standing room was taken up. The final round, boom, full, and then everyone disappeared.
So basically, you're saying that live attendees for esports events are like Vancouver Canucks fans.
I see that correlation. And like the thing is, I'm sure it will be attended. And like there's been League of Legends ones where they're freaking huge.
Right.
My only thing is I
they filled the Staples Center.
Yeah.
With a tournament at one point. So
they need to make it more how do I even say it? I think one of the problems with the Korean one is it wasn't very accessible, so they need to make this very accessible.
So they're going to have a hard... So your issue is they're going to have a hard time keeping the seats full often enough to justify a facility that
big game,
This phase alone is going to be costing, I think it was $480 million.
Big games and big tournaments and stuff, I totally see them filling it.
Yeah, so $480 million just for the arena and the first phase, and then $2.8 billion total. And if you can only fill it up with the 15,000 fans, like
But then again, 15,000 is honestly not that high of a number.
Yeah, it's really.
So
not.
they might be able to fill this thing up all the time because that's not that high of a number. I just don't know. I'm talking about like big, crazy Staples Center level stadiums. I don't know if you can fill that up on like a weekly basis.
Okay, so if it's part of a wider gaming themed park, like facility, would you consider traveling there for like a trip as a tourist attraction?
China scares me a little bit.
Well, okay, if let's say it wasn't in China, would you consider traveling to something like that?
I went to Korea to see the StarCraft.
Okay, so there you go.
It works for me. I would want to go see this. I would go there every once. Like if it was local, I'd love to go see games. I worry about. Yeah.
So I want to hear from you guys. Is this another crazy building project in China where there's going to be entire ghost? Well, they've already got ghost cities over in China. Entire cities of basically unpopulated buildings because they built all this stuff assuming that the money and the people were coming, and then they just kind of didn't. Is this going to be another one of those projects, or is this a stroke of genius and it's amazing no one did it sooner, and is this going to turn into an esports mecca?
Personally, I think this
post.
Yeah, okay. Personally, I think this one will work. Will it become a mecca? Yes or no?
Will it be a success? Okay, there. So Slick's gonna post Luke. I haven't called you Slick in a long time. Luke's gonna be posting the straw poll into the chat very, very shortly here. In the meantime, there was one other topic. Oh yes, Titan Z has been postponed.
I think this one will work. That's my vote.
So Brown Ninja 97 posted this on the forum. Here we go. I'm just gonna share with you guys while you guys vote.
Let me see how it's going.
So Titan Z was supposedly going to be released on April 29th, but according to Sweetclockers, plans have changed. The only thing we don't know is why. We do apparently have some more details about the Titan Z. So we were looking at a 180 megahertz frequency drop compared to the original 780 Ti. So yeah, and we were looking at a cooling system that was going to be a triple slot cooler. The first time we've ever seen a triple slot reference cooler out of NVIDIA, and I think AMD. I don't think anyone's ever done a triple slot reference cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was the rumor, that the speculation, and I haven't heard anything about it one way or the other, is that Titan Z was delayed because it's not going to be competitive with the R9 295X2, which is a liquid-cooled card that runs at the same speed as the full-fledged R9 290X, except two of them on a single card. And that the Titan Z was going to be incredibly expensive. I don't know if I necessarily buy that, because the Titan Z was not meant to go head-to-head against the 295X2. It's a compute card with 12 gigs of memory and full double precision unlockedness. Like it's more of a developer card.
I think part of the problem is their marketing was a little bit confusing on that.
You could be right.
Because they did talk about it in the sense, and they always have with Titan, despite it not really being that, they have always marketed it on some level as a gamer card.
Well, original Titan was launched as the fastest gaming GPU on the planet.
Yeah.
That was how it was positioned, for better or for worse. And then they talked a lot during the briefing call. I remember my briefing call for Titan because I was late for my badminton ladder because I had to sit on a briefing call for Titan, and then I had to leave the briefing call for Titan, make up some cock and bull story about how my phone got disconnected so I could attend a different briefing for like a different region that wasn't one of my original options, so I could actually hear what they were saying because I had to go get on a badminton court. But anyway,
that's pretty funny.
But the branding was to the reviewers. It was very clear. This is about double precision. This is about CUDA development, and if gamers want to buy them, then great. But the way that it was positioned on like GeForce.com was not very clear, and there was a lot of the same confusion about Titan Z. So maybe because it wasn't going to be competitive with a card that it was never really created to compete with, they're put in a bit of an awkward position.
Yeah, I think they might have dug their own hole here.
I think the bigger story here is, I think this is maybe the end of the line of dual GPU top-end cards.
I've never liked them.
You look at what AMD resorted to a prefab liquid cooler to make theirs work. NVIDIA, the kings, in my mind, of cool, quiet, elegant solutions, not compromising on, not obviously not going back to like the FX 5800 days, but of late, the NVIDIA that doesn't compromise on the overall experience to deliver more frames per second resorted to a triple slot cooler in order to make this thing function. Is that where we're at now? Is this the end of the line? Are we at the physical limitations of the heat that we can remove and the power that we can deliver to these cards? And is it just the end now?
I even have a different point, but I do agree with you on that. Although I wouldn't be surprised if it did work. I just bet you that they're looking into triple slot coolers and stuff now because of results from 295X2. I wouldn't be surprised there because I do suspect it probably did work with the dual slot cooler. But I'm surprised that I never liked them, even when cases were huge.
Right.
And it made more sense to have a billion graphics cards. Now a lot of people are going to much smaller cases and smaller motherboards and smaller situations, so it even makes more sense now, and it's still not catching on.
Right.
And one thing that I think GPUs are going really slow. Actually, we've seen this
we've seen
little bit iteration for a long time, and you're starting to see where like that card and even the 295X2, when things are fully set up on really, really high resolutions, which are coming down in price fast.
Yep.
So people are going to start running them at really high settings. Games at those resolutions are, it's not that impressive. Like barely over 60 FPS.
So then isn't that an argument for more dual GPU solutions?
It is, but it's also an argument for stronger single GPU solutions.
I know,
we
but
see
it's
this
hard to build one.
slow iteration.
It's hard to build
But
them.
NVIDIA sits on stuff.
Well, you can make the argument either way. I don't think anyone outside of NVIDIA really knows what's happened over the last little while.
That's
But
true.
what we do know is that TSMC is not delivering smaller process nodes. So there's only so much you can do by tweaking the design with something like Maxwell to go, okay, it's more efficient per watt and it does perform better, but look, guys, this is all we can really do because...
Well, if it's colder, more efficient per watt, and performs better and all that kind of stuff, then it should be easier to make these dual GPU cards.
So then you want them to deliver a larger GPU.
Or that.
Because even though it's more expensive.
Or that.
Right.
They're making a lot. We should talk about GPU BOM cost if we're going to talk about Google Glass BOM cost.
It's not about the BOM cost.
I know.
Okay, let's talk about Google Glass.
Oh, should we talk
cost.
about the poll results?
Yeah, let's do the poll results. So, guys, the results are in. Will China's gaming-centric thing, will it be a success? Most of you think no. I actually disagree. I disagree wholeheartedly. I think that particularly because it's in Asia, and I think that because it's on the forefront, it's going to be the first one. It is going to have the support of guys like MLG, where they're going to be like, yeah, we want to have every event there from now on. And once you make something into the default destination, then you kind of won. At least for a while, at least until competing facilities start to show up.
Yeah.
And there is something to be said, even if you're watching on the screen. I mean, think about going to a concert. Unless you're in, the first few dozen rows, it's not like you can see the pores on the singer's face. And a lot of the time, you're going to end up watching the big screen anyway. So even though a gaming tournament is very much like that, you're not really looking at the players most of the time. You're looking at the screen. It's more about people attend live events for the atmosphere. I personally don't like having lots of people around me. They're loud and they smell bad, but lots of people like the atmosphere of concerts and sporting events, and that's what this will be, even though you're still watching on a screen. It's about being around the other people and cheering when the thing happens and the crowd going, ah! And I think something like this can be a big success. And I think the timing is right. I think 3 years ago, I would have laughed at it.
Yeah, me too. And with China getting behind League of Legends so heavily, I could totally see this. Because League of Legends is going to be a huge big deal. This arena and League of Legends are going to have to come together. If that doesn't work, then I don't think the arena is going to work. 100%. They have to work together. Or else it's just no big deal.
So Google Glass costs $80 to build. This was originally posted on the forum by Shadow Captain.
And that's fine.
So the processor costs $13.96 with the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth chips coming in at Bluetooth chip coming in at $10.79, and the camera $5.66. If they increase the BOM cost, they could put in a way better camera. They could do all kinds of interesting stuff and still make a profit. But something that people need to understand. So anyone who is upset about the BOM cost of a product like this, it is not about the BOM cost. It is about, BOM means bill of materials. So the actual list of things on a spreadsheet that go into it. And the $80 includes assembly apparently.
Yeah.
But it's not about that. It's about the extremely expensive engineers that you have to employ for a long period of time before you can actually release it, that all need salaries. So there seems to be a fair bit of outrage that Google's charging $1,500 for it, because I mean, it's something to remember, guys, is they don't want people to buy it. Not really. They only want people to buy it who are serious business,
developers and stuff,
and going to develop for it, or provide massive media coverage for it, or people who can afford to spend $1,500 on something to try it, to be one of the first ones. That's who they don't want everyone to have one, because they know it's not ready yet. It's like Oculus developer kits.
Yeah.
They don't want everyone to buy it. They say outright.
They kind of did.
Kind of. But they wanted developers to buy it. They don't want every Joe to buy it and then do a review of how the pixels are big.
Yeah.
You don't want people to have a bad experience with the product. You'd rather just not have them have it at all.
It's fairly, and that's an interesting point, because it's fairly well documented that Oculus looks like a screen door, and the Google Glass experience is really not that good.
Yeah.
And that's because they're both not what those companies want them to be yet.
That's right.
So you're gonna pay more, and there's even a lot of speculation that CV1, consumer version 1 of Oculus Rift, is gonna be cheaper than some of the development kits have been, or all of the development kits have been.
Interesting.
Because if you think about it, the mass manufacturing possibilities behind a consumer version are much higher than a development version. If you're only making a very small amount of something
Right.
like Development Kit 1 wasn't a huge amount. So if you're only making that much, it could cost more.
All right. So, unless you have something else that you feel is incredibly important, we do have a few more things on here, but I think
Not
that's...
that, like, needs to be done.
I think that's pretty much it for the WAN show. We thank you guys very much for tuning in. The weather's beautiful, so I'm not doing a garage sale today. I will do one again at some point. It's just, honestly, you guys, Fridays are very tiring at the end of very tiring weeks. So
He does a lot of stuff on Friday.
And this morning was worse than usual. I had to go to see an accountant about our, like, Linus Media Group tax filing and stuff. Yeah.
That doesn't sound fun at all.
So I had to, today was awesome.
I noticed you got back to the office later than you normally do.
Yeah.
So I assumed something happened.
I was late to NCIX, and then I was late getting back here.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you guys very much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the WAN show as much as we enjoy making it. Thanks again to our sponsors, Hotspot Shield and ASUS. We gotta like synchronize that better. It should be like, huh, huh. Thank you to ASUS for sponsoring the show today. I don't know how many times I've said thank you for watching, but I really am thankful that you guys watch. If you're tuning in late, we will have the archive up on the YouTube sometime, hopefully in the next sort of few hours. If not, it'll be tomorrow morning. It's going to be when we get a chance. So.
Yes. I was going to say it didn't break in half this time.
Yeah, that always helps.
So that should help.
Peace out, guys. Or,